Hopefully they have a good season. Moving on to Ipswich, which will be an interesting one. I'll talk about their transfer deals first. So in terms of players out, there's some of them I had made to Charlton, El Mizuni, that's how you say his name, El Mizuni to Oxford. Caden Jackson's gone to Burnley. So not players that you call Premier League level. Interestingly enough, though, and I want to see what your thoughts are on this, because when I talk to you about goalkeepers, you remind me of when Gary Neville, I think, who was it that he slated somebody on Monday Night Football, and so the reason why he did it was Mignolet, and he said the reason he didn't say it was because of how low he was, and people were like you're being harsh. He's like, no, if you bring yourself too low and you're not ready, you're not set, you're given a chance, every chance for the ball to go in from a distance just to be saving it, and I like that, because we need to find those things that separate the average from the good from the great from the bad.
Yeah.
Right. So here's an interesting one for you. So last season they had Vaclav Hladky in goal. They finished second in the championship, 1 point off top, and he got 15 clean sheets, which is a decent return.
Yeah.
But they've released him on a free transfer to Burnley.
Yeah.
And in return, they've actually bought Burnley's goalkeeper Muric last year. Yeah. And remind me if I'm wrong, but that goalkeeper was very error-prone last year, wasn't he?
He was very error-prone. I mean, he was the same. He was a very strange goalkeeper in terms of there are certain games you watch him and he pulled off good saves. But as you said, he made a lot of errors, which were very costly to Burnley, actually going down. Or even before going down, even very costly to them, gaining crucial points to put more pressure on the teams who are just above them. So he was very error-prone, which is a strange signing. It's a strange signing, that one.
Very strange signing, but good luck to them. They signed Liam Delap from Man City.
Man City, yeah.
Anyone that remembers him, he had a decent couple of games when he played. He looked like a decent talent, so that'll be an interesting move to see if anything comes of that. They got Ben Johnson on a free transfer from West Ham. They signed Connor Townsend from West Brom. Don't know if that's just to be a squad piece or whatever. Jacob Greaves, from Hull City. I've watched bits of him. He looks tidy, but they spent, for me, for a promoted side, that's not really in the cash like that. Being in Premier League will be great for them because they're going to make a lot of money from this. They spent roughly about 15, 16 million pounds on him, so I'm not very sure of that deal, but so be it. And we spoke about this one with Theo on the Chelsea podcast, Omari Hutchinson, who I believe was at Arsenal before, wasn't he? Before Chelsea and then Chelsea.
Yes, it was a weird one. It was at Arsenal, left Arsenal on the free, didn't sign for Arsenal, and then it was good business for Arsenal because obviously what Chelsea did is they paid the compensation for him when they signed him, because it was under 23, you paid the compensation. But somehow Arsenal managed to get a sell-on clause in that deal, in him being able to leave and go to Chelsea. But then, he left Arsenal on the free. But even when he left, I thought to myself, it was the most stupidest decision you could ever make. You're leaving Arsenal to go to Chelsea, where Chelsea have never shown a pathway for youngsters. which for me was it. Obviously, Chelsea must have been offering a lot of money. But I thought to myself, think about your career. I mean, no one goes from Arsenal to Chelsea Even obviously this was before the time where Chelsea were doing all the credit, but even still, they never showed a pathway for players anyway. So it was a strange for him to go there. And obviously, he's gone from Chelsea now to Ipswich.
Exactly, very strange deal. But he's gone for
20.
I've got everything in euros here. So
I think it could be 20 euros.
Yeah, so 23 million euros. So whether that is pounds.
I think at the time that must be like 20-19 million, something like that.
Yeah. So another interesting one as well, another young player. I want to ask your thoughts on Kieran McKenna. Big links last year. No, I say even last year, not long ago, in terms of managers, where is he going to go? Who is he going to replace? If this guy goes here, is he going to United? Is he going to Everton? Is he going here? Is he going there? So he's very, very highly rated. my personal experience of him, because obviously he was coaching at the club that I support before he went to go and coach Ipswich. He was part of the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer regime, and if anyone that's watches free midfield, I did defend him quite a bit. And the reason why I did defend him is because the news coming out from the sources, journalists and that stuff, is that what him and Carrick were training or doing in training was not being coached on match days.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there's a bit of a disconnect. There's a disconnect between what the coaches wanted and what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted, and I don't know what that was. At the same time, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was never one to criticize them. He actually loved them, and he said that they're going on to do big things. You could see that they could coach. Carrick is obviously doing a decent job at Middlesbrough. Hopefully they can get promoted this year, because that should be the next level up for them and for him. But McKenna's definitely taken that step. And McKenna's one is very interesting because he's not been at Ipswich long. And when he was at Ipswich, they were in League One.
Yeah, he was,
and they've progressed quickly, and they've progressed very quickly, and now they're Premier League side. What are your thoughts on him? Do you think, Rafa, I'll ask you like this. Even if Ipswich were to get relegated, do you think he can have the ability to show enough in a season to show that he maybe would thrive with better
players,
resources?
Resources. Yeah, definitely. I've always said this. There's a way you go down, right? You can always go down, and obviously because as I said, don't have the resources, the players, but you can still show tactical nuances. You can still show as a manager how you set up a game, how you make changes within a game, and you can still display a variety of good skills that someone can say, oh, you know what, he shows he can be a good manager in a better environment. Just hasn't got the resources. You look at people like Graham Potter and what he did at Brighton. Even though they finished in low half, you can kind of see how with average players he was able to kind of implement a style, and even get players who were there long before he had came, to adapt to a style and even show levels of improvement as footballers. So you looked at him and thought, oh, you know what, he's a good coach and in a better environment could thrive. Vincent Kompany, on the other hand, for me, very lucky to get the Bayern Munich job, because for me, he showed, for me, so much ineptness as a manager in terms of, one, decision making, two, style of play, in terms of approach against certain teams, three, a lack of flexibility to tactically change things for a game or even as a game is going on. Four, seeing mistakes and still wanting them to do the same thing over and over again. And obviously they deserve to go down. And for me, it didn't show Kompany in a good light whatsoever, because you can see the glaring mistakes in him as a manager. And he only started to tweak and adapt it when it was more or less too late for him to do it at the very back end of the season. And for me, that's just poor management, because you should spot these things early and obviously try to adapt. Now, Kieran McKenna, I give him credit in terms of what he's done is a superb achievement to bring Ipswich up from League One to the Championship and then get them promoted again. So for me, it'll be interesting to see how he performs. Ipswich could probably, one of the favourites to get relegated. If they do, that's fine. But Kieran McKenna can show himself in a good light, depending on how he sets himself up, how he some of the tactical changes he can make during the game, spotting things, maybe adaptation in a game, even adaptation match to match. So you're playing against a certain team. How do you prepare your team for that team? How do you take all the understanding as to the weaknesses and the strengths of what their team, and set up a team to kind of nullify that, but also try and get victory? You can still do that, lose a match, but still look successful, and pundits can see, you know what, we're on the right track. I can see what he's trying to do. Sometimes it may just be a lack of quality that means that you're unable to kind of finish off things or maybe get over the line in certain games, which is fine, because obviously if you don't have the right profile player or resources, that's out of your hands, nothing you can do. But you can show yourself to still be a good manager, working with what you have and showing yourself well. I mean, you look at, for instance, what's his name? Thomas Frank came up with Brentford. Probably people would have thought Brentford went down straight away. You kind of see how he's adapted to the league. For me, I think Thomas Frank is a fantastic manager for what he's done at Brentford. And he's made Brentford very, very competitive. I know last season they were kind of battling relegation, but he's even against the big teams know, we go to Brentford. They're a problem team. But you look at how he came into the league, how he's adapted, how he can switch from kind of being defensive and conservative, and then how we can switch to kind of having a counter-attacking team, or in certain games where it's like, okay, let's be on the front foot, let's actually have people committing. You kind of see, even during games, you kind of see how, okay, it's not going my way, I need to change this, or maybe we've taken the lead, bring on this sub, or kind of make a tactical substitution to maybe hold on to games. You kind of see a variety in his armour. And Brentford are a staple Premier League team since coming up. And you kind of see how managers can show how good they are, even with limited resources, because we can't say Brentford have had the greatest amount of resources to go out and buy certain players, or go out and even, spend a lot of money as other clubs have.
Yeah, exactly. Not too much to say on Ipswich. Sorry, Ipswich fans.
Question to you, do you think Ipswich will survive in this season?
That's the question I was going to ask you. Ask first. Genuinely, I think they can. But the only way they're going to do this, if I'm being honest, is it's a cliche, but they need to try and make at home, get as many results from home as possible.
Yeah, a bit like Luton. A bit like Luton last season, where they got a lot of points playing from home.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to away from home, the thing that I think Luton did away from home, which I think was a mistake, was they started off conservative, and then they started to get moments, and they thought they could just open up a little bit. And I think that's too dangerous. I think you need to be a bit more measured, a bit more thoughtful in your approach in these games. So I think next season, you're in a relegation battle with Southampton, in a relegation battle with London Forest, in a relegation battle with Leicester. I think Everton haven't improved enough, so I think Everton will be in danger again.
I agree.
I want to see how Bournemouth deal with the loss of Solanke, if they replace him adequately. I don't know what that means. They could sign another tackle striker and adapt what their play is. But, that's someone whose goals obviously played a major part in where they finished last year.
Yeah.
I want to see how they adapt to things. And even Brentford as well. We mentioned Brentford, but, they had a bit of a shaky season last year, as you said. They were fine, but you just never know when it comes to football. No one's too good to go down.
Yeah.
They can stay up. They can stay up. Will they stay up? Honestly, I think no.
Yeah.
But I think if they perform well enough, or whether the manager shows enough, he won't go down with them. I think he'd be taken mid-season. How? Because this Premier League, there will be sackings for sure. There'll be at least 4 or 5 coming January. So that's how I see them. And if they were to get 16th, 15th, I don't think it would be a 17th place. I think they'd gather enough points to be safe. There's going to be a lot of pressure. Not pressure, but a lot of their hopes will be on players like Tuanzebe, who has a bit of a Premier League experience. Leif Davis is a very good left back for anyone that hasn't watched him. The other players are a bit of an unknown entity, unless obviously you're a Championship, you watch Championship religiously, or you're an Ipswich fan, obviously. So, yeah, it's an interesting season for them. Could it be a team that's just got promoted too soon? But I think they've got a lot more. They've got better infrastructure, a lot more resources than Luton did.
Yeah,
so
100%, yeah.
I think they could, and if Luton can push it as close as they did, I think Ipswich can, tug a little bit more and potentially stay up. Or what do you think?
It's a tough one, because the relegation battles are very, very odd because they're a lot tighter than they should be. Barring, let's say, we take last season, Sheffield United were just a disgrace. So their fate was written from very early. But even Burnley, for instance, looked down and out at some point. I thought definitely, and somehow pulled themselves back to contention, where in the end they only just went up. But there's a period I thought, Burnley could do this, because the league is that competitive. And I think they probably will go down, but I think it'll be a very tight one. And it's a weird one, because when we get to the back end of the season, these relegation teams become a lot more competitive. I think what it is, they'll probably start off conservative as the season goes, maybe lose a lot of points. And then when it starts to become a bit desperate, you start to see them kind of loosen the reins a bit. And we saw that with Burnley too. When it got to the point where it's like, we've got nothing to lose, where so far they start to loosen the reins and go through a run of victories where the teams above them were so inconsistent and losing matches and, drawing matches, that they managed to creep themselves up. I think we'll probably see the same with Ipswich. I think they'll probably go down.
One second, sorry, 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry about that. This triangle because yeah.
No, I was saying that with Ipswich, I think they'll go down, but it'll be tight. I think they'll probably start off a bit conservative, and then I think when it gets to maybe, let's say 70% of the season, where you start to assess how desperate you are, I think they'll start to maybe loosen the reins a bit, start to gather points in the back end, but I think they probably might not have enough to stay up. That's what I think. I think they'll be down. I think Southampton will probably join them. I think Leicester kind of have enough to stay up. And yeah, I think Southampton might switch, and then I think another team might join them. I wouldn't mind Everton going down, to be honest, because I just think that club is just so badly run in terms of direction and where they want to be, type of players that they're bringing in. It wouldn't surprise me if Everton do go down.
Yeah, same. Okay, before we finish, star player I want to watch.
It's hard because I don't know too much about I've watched them a few times, not extensively, so it's hard for me to call out a star player. I'll probably go once again with Omari Hutchinson. He seemed to be one that played very well for them last season. And wingers, especially now, wingers play a very important role in the game in terms of goals and creativity. So I think he's probably one that I'll say he'll probably be one of their star players, to be honest. And I think also he's come from, like I said, playing at, obviously hasn't played that much, but coming from like the Chelsea and the Arsenal setup, so with a lot more kind of experience of playing with other quality players and a level of quality that maybe not all the players have had. One to watch, I'll say one to watch is who's the guy that they signed from West Ham again?
Johnson.
And the only reason why I say one to watch is because I think he'll have a point to prove in terms of he hasn't played regular football at West Ham whatsoever. So I think for him, this will be like a breakthrough season for him, a club where he can actually play regular football, which is something he's never had at West Ham. So I think he's one to watch in terms of, let's see, one, how good he is, and two, I think he'll have a point to prove because now he's now in an environment where it's like, I can play regularly, I can be viewed as a regular and player. Because I don't think, I would say I rated him highly at West Ham. I don't think he was bad, but it was very hard for me to judge just how good he was, just because he never had a proper running game. So this will be intriguing to see.
Awesome. I'm gonna co-sign both of those. And yeah, but I think we'll leave it there. So everyone, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and what's up, one?
Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe.
It's been a while, but yeah, thank you guys, and have a good one, guys.